Hi, welcome to Code with Z. In today's video, we gotta rotate this matrix by 90 degrees like so. As you can see, because we've rotated this by 90 degrees, this column here literally went here. 147, 147, as you can see. And this column here went here. 369, 369. So we gotta rotate this matrix by 90 degrees because that's what LeetCode 48 rotate image is asking us to do. Now I want you to know that I'll explain and visualize everything in the coming slides, but for the sake of reading the question, let's see what the question is actually asking us for. So we're given an n by n 2D matrix that's basically representing an image. And we only have to rotate this image by 90 degrees, clockwise. However, we have to do this in place, which means we cannot allocate another 2D matrix to the rotation, meaning we cannot use extra memory, and we gotta do this in place. Now we're given this example, but let's check it out in the slides. Let's see how we can go from this to this. Our algorithm is gonna be really simple. We only have two simple rules, and I'll visualize everything to you. The first simple rule that we're gonna have is to swap each column with each row. That's literally it. But why would this even help? Well, let's see. Let's visualize it and see how it actually helps. Let's try to swap each column with each row. So we're gonna start from here. Our column has 1, 4, 7 inside of it, right? So let's swap it with the first row. So 147, 147, like so, right? We're literally doing what this line is saying. So let's move on to the next column. That's gonna be this column here. We have 2, 5, 8, and we gotta put that in the second row because this is the second column. So we're gonna put this inside the second row. So 2, 5, 8, 2, 5, 8, like so. Now, let's move on to the third column. That's gonna be our column here, 3, 6, 9, because this is the third column. We're gonna put this in, in the third row. So 3, 6, 9, like so. All right, we finished this step. Let's see what the second step is. Oh, it just says reverse each row. Well, sure, let's try this and see what will happen. All right, the first row is 147, so we're gonna reverse it. That's gonna become 7, 4, 1. Let's reverse the second row. We have 2, 5, 8. That's gonna become 8, 5, 2, like so. And now we're gonna reverse our last row, and we're gonna go from 3, 6, 9 to 9, 6, 3, like so. Wait a minute. This is actually the rotated matrix that we saw in the beginning. As you can see, 1, 4, 7, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 9, 3, 6, 9. No way. So we only had to do these two simple things to get to the answer? Well, yeah, we're basically done. Now let's code this in the simplest way possible. Alrighty, let's code this together. So the first thing that we're gonna have is gonna be our first rule, just like we saw on the slides. So let's see how we can actually implement this. And this is actually really simple. We're gonna get the length of our matrix and we're gonna call it n, and this is gonna be equal to matrix.length, like so, right? And then we gotta loop through our matrix, right? So we're gonna say for let I being equal to 0, we wanna keep on looping as long as I is smaller than n, and we wanna increment I on each round. And then we're gonna come down here. Because it's a matrix, we have to have two loops so we can actually loop through everything. So we're gonna say for let j being equal to I plus 1. Don't worry, I'll explain this in a bit. And we want to keep on looping as long as j is smaller than n, and you want to increment j on each round, like so. And here, we're literally going to do our swap. We're going to swap two things with each other. Here, we're going to say matrix at index of I and j, and matrix at the index of j and I, let me bring this to the left, should be equal to matrix of j and I. As you can see, we're swapping the values that we have, matrix of I and j. If you check this, we're literally saying I and j should be j and I should be I and j. We're literally swapping. And believe it or not, step 1 is done. Now, let me tell you why this is I plus 1. We're back in our slides. We're literally at the slide when we swap each column with each row. As you can see, we've swapped each column with each row. Now, if we draw a line here, we can see that we're basically putting these values here and then putting these values here. As you can see, the yellows are now in the bottom and the reds are now at the top. And we're literally not touching 159. As you can see, 159. And to swap these values that we have here correctly, we have to start from I plus 1 in the second loop. If we don't, we're gonna swap elements that we've already swapped, and that's gonna ruin our first rule that we have here. Alright, now that our first step is already done, let's see how we can actually implement the second one. And it's actually pretty simple. It's gonna be simpler than the previous one. We're simply gonna have a loop, and we're gonna say for let I, for example, equaling to 0, we wanna keep on looping as long as I is smaller than n, yada yada yada, plus plus, and here we're gonna say, we're gonna reverse each row. Like so. Literally, this is done. Like, if I submit this, it's gonna get accepted. We are literally looping through each row, and then we're gonna say reverse it, and that's gonna be it. So let's run this. Let's see if we're gonna pass our cases. Yep, both of them are passed, as you can see. Now let's submit it. Moment of truth. Let's see if we're gonna get accepted. Drum roll, please. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Yep. And as you can see, randomly, we're beating 90% of all of the other submissions. If I submit this again, it's gonna be like, I don't know, 10%. This is so random. LeetCode, please fix this. But this is awesome. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep on coding.